Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa, Director of Media Relations here at Brightline, and today we're here to talk about sustainability. Brightline is the most environmentally friendly biodiesel train and service, and we have Danae Hines here today. She's the Director of Sustainability at Brightline to talk more about what makes Brightline environmentally friendly in honor of Earth Month.
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm so excited to chat with you today and just discuss a lot of the things that Brightline is doing to be more sustainable. So first off, you already said it, right? We are the most environmentally friendly biodiesel train in service. So you're probably wondering, what is biodiesel? Well, biodiesel is a form of diesel. It's a more environmentally friendly form of diesel, which basically means that we run on organic matter as part of our diesel solution. So we emit significantly less carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, about 78% less than regular diesel fuel. So right then and there, we are doing a service to our environment and reducing air pollution so we can breathe easier, healthier, and cleaner air.
So what does that mean? What does that look like in terms of, cars and maybe planes? Is there a certain amount of cars that equate to that number?
What I can say is, in terms of the equivalences, I would say that we're probably about 60% more efficient than a plane, I would say, actually, if you're traveling from, say, Miami to Orlando, which we will be doing quite soon. And then if you look at versus a car, we're about 83% more efficient taking Brightline from Miami to Orlando than taking a car. So that's kind of the equivalences that I can equate it to when you look at, do I take the train? Do I take a plane, or do I take a car? Our whole goal at Brightline is to be that solution, that environmentally friendly solution for distances that are too far to drive, but too close to take a plane. So I hope that explains it there for you right there.
Yeah, and sustainability goes beyond just driving and taking a plane, right? We also, Brightline also looks for ways to make an impact on sustainability through our team and our culture and our community.
That's very important. And it's always great to note that, and I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people look at sustainability and think it's just the environment. Sustainability has three prongs. There's the environmental portion, yes, that focuses on like our air, our water, our energy. But there's also the social portion that focuses on our community engagement, our social inclusion, our diversity. It focuses on how we're being resilient and intentional about the things that we do. And then it also focuses on the economic as well as the governance side in terms of how we run our business, ethics, and also how we're making sure that we are saving money and being more efficient in the way in which we operate. So it's all of those things rolled up into one when we talk about sustainability.
So what does, sustainability have to do with our health, our well-being? Why should people think a little bit more from a sustainable standpoint when they're, thinking about if they should jump in their car versus take a train? And is jumping into an Uber, a better option than taking the train? Like, how can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I'm glad you brought that up because we've been looking at a lot of different studies, and even just a recent article came out talking about the fact that 99% of the world has been breathing air that has not been healthy. So that alone just puts an increased focus on indoor air quality and air quality in general, right? So the unique thing about Brightline is that we have needlepoint ionization technology, right? So what that does is basically it's a big word for saying we take about 25% of the fresh air into our train environment, and we clean it and we scrub it to get rid of pathogens, to get rid of diseases, to get rid of pollution, so that we want to make sure that you're breathing air that's safe and healthy. It's a new and it's a first thing for the transportation industry to really look at air quality in that way. And we're actually being quite innovative in terms of how we're considering this. Environmental sustainability and health is very important. And we're understanding now that because we spend about 90% of our time indoors in buildings, and then that other 10% is spent actually transitioning into or moving in a car or a train or something to get to that building, we spend a lot of time in enclosed spaces. So we want to put a very huge I guess I want to say, spotlight on the fact that indoor air quality is something that's very much linked to our health and our wellness and our well-being. And Brightline is at the forefront of that. And we're focused on making sure that we have third-party verified certification in that, in terms of looking at not only our air quality and monitoring it on a consistent basis, but also looking at our cleaning chemicals in terms of what we clean with, making sure that we have products that do not cause any adverse health effects or risks to our teammates, but also to our guests.
That's a great point. And also, just to air quality, I want to touch a little bit on CO2 emissions. So how does that, help the air quality? Can you just kind of walk us through that process?
Sure, not a problem. So CO2 is basically carbon dioxide, and it's one of the greenhouse gases that are not good for the environment. So generally, one of the main emissions that come from burning fuel in any way, any type of fuel, whether it be gasoline or diesel or biofuel, is carbon dioxide. So when we're looking to kind of say we want to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, we want to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that we're putting into the air, because carbon dioxide actually traps heat. I don't know about you all, but I've been noticing some significantly hot summers, and that's all contributing to the warming of our atmosphere. And that's because we're seeing immense amounts of carbon dioxide being emitted into the atmosphere. And with that being said, we want to try to reduce that as much as we can. So when we think about and we talk about CO2, our main thing is to try to avoid it as often and as much as we can. And we do that by utilizing biodiesel, by looking at clean energy solutions like with Brightline Plus, running on completely electric, vehicles, and looking at different micro-mobility ways of getting in and around that will reduce those emissions and help to kind of reduce that CO2 in the atmosphere.
That's awesome. I do want to talk also a little bit about resiliency. How does that fit into sustainability? Are we doing anything, specific that is really making an impact, from a resiliency standpoint?
Now, resiliency is basically our ability to bounce back, or I would say be extra prepared for specific situations. We like to say that we have predictive maintenance for our trains. So we're always trying to anticipate what could go wrong and have that scenario play out and make sure that we have a solution to fixing that, right? And then it's also focused on how we can be a bit more strengthened in terms of our responses to a lot of those adverse effects, whether it be weather effects, whether it be security effects, whether it be safety effects. So we look at that and try to make sure that from a resiliency standpoint, that we have all of those parameters in place, that we're thinking about a lot of those factors that I just mentioned, and that we have the prepared responses to those to make us a bit more resilient to unforeseen events that may occur.
So it's not just about, being eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, or sustainable. You also have to be, there's a resiliency aspect to that as well.
Yes, most definitely. And resiliency comes in many forms, not just in terms of the train, but how we're building resilient communities. And that's where the social aspect of sustainability comes into place, where we're looking to see how are we giving back to the community? How are we building capacity within our community around understanding what riding a train means, around what it means to be a train engineer? All of those things help to build resilient communities and just keep our communities safe and healthy.
Awesome. Well, I just have one more question. That being that you're, the expert here on sustainability at Brightline, what are some things that our commuters can do to make more sustainable choices, when it comes to choosing a transportation option in South Florida?
I would definitely say first things first is consider taking Brightline for those trips when you have to go from Miami to Fort Lauderdale to West Palm Beach, and then obviously soon to Orlando. That's number one. But also take Brightline Plus, because again, we have zero emissions with our Tesla cars. And if there's also the option to take our shuttle vans, which are also electric as well. So when you're looking in South Florida to get around, look at mass transportation options, look at micro-mobility options. Miami-Dade County is really looking to see how they can advance infrastructure to be more friendly to, say, scooters and bikes, bike share opportunities. Just make sure that you're trying to walk where you can instead of drive, get out of those vehicles, and definitely consider just how your environmental footprint will help you to create a more positive impact in and around your community, but also for your health.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Brightline is a great connector to other forms of transportation throughout South Florida. So you have very easy access to the Metro Rail. You can connect to the Sun Rail. We can get you to the airports. There's definitely, it goes beyond taking the Brightline, right? We're just one aspect of transport, taking mass transit here throughout the South Florida region. So I do think it's something for people to keep considering and keeping in mind. I mean, our service is very easy to get, I think, and it's a great service. I think our Teslas are great. The fact that we're electric and all of our micro mobility options is a win for the environment.
I certainly agree.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today on sustainability, Danae. This is such an important topic, and we hope to have you on here again soon.
Sounds good, Vanessa. Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to talk about sustainability. It is my favorite thing to do. And for all of our riders in South Florida, this Earth Day, I'm encouraging you to get out of your car and jump on the Brightline app and take the train. Book Brightline Plus to your first and last mile and be a positive environmental impact this Earth Day.